All right, back with another tier list playoff edition. I am just doing the 14 teams that made the playoffs, so apologies to the fans of the other fan bases who wanted to hear me talk about their team. Listen, we'll have plenty of offseason talk about all of the teams, but now it's playoff time, so let's go with the teams that I think, let's put them in tiers. Could be fun. These are the 5 tiers. It's favorites, legit threats, if they get hot, ... could win a game, and then at least they made the playoffs. And I'm doing these in no particular order, but we're going to start off with, I think, a couple of at least they made the playoffs. Tampa Bay, that's where they're at right now. Hey, you made the playoffs. There's no shame in being a one-and-done team, although they have a chance against Philadelphia. Only 1.5 point only 1.5 point underdogs currently to the Eagles. So interesting there. I think I would probably have bumped them up a tier if Baker was healthy. It's just with Baker's injury, they don't look great right now. If Baker can get healthy, then yeah. And again, I'm kind of viewing these tiers in terms of how I view you as a team, not necessarily, word for word, like could win a game. Every team could win a game, right? I feel comfortable about you being a playoff winning team. Not right now with the injuries. And for the Steelers, yeah, they're definitely, this is, I actually briefly considered just giving them their own tier at the bottom of just Steelers. Decided not to go that way because, you made the playoffs and it is an accomplishment. And I don't know, Mason Rudolph definitely, he didn't play great in the rain against Baltimore, but did play well the other couple of games. There is talent on this roster, but again, a banged up TJ Watt, they just feel like, hey, you're in, but I still don't know how great I feel about you currently. The Miami Dolphins are an interesting team. They really are. I think that, you have to look at some of these losses, and you kind of have to, point the finger at Tua a little bit. He has played poorly sometimes against better teams. That being said, there still is a lot of talent on this roster. I am going to put them in the if they get hot tier. I don't feel that much more confident in them than putting them here. But I do think that there's, again, if Jalen Waddle is back, because I do think they missed Jalen Waddle against Buffalo, if they are healthy, again, who is fully healthy, but if they are healthy, if they get hot, I do think they could make something happen. But I'm not betting on it necessarily. And the Rams, I think the Rams are also in the if they get hot category. Like, listen, this offense can absolutely put up points of anybody. We just saw, the one lost one game in the past several weeks, and that one game was an overtime loss to Baltimore. Like, you could argue that they are as hot as any team in football right now. Stafford's playing as good a football as he's played. This might be his best season, to be honest. Stafford's played great this year. Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp are obviously awesome threats. I have real concerns about this secondary. I think it's a bit patchy. I think there's players I like, but it's not a full, complete secondary. And my guess is that a team somewhere along the line will exploit that and be able to, beat the Rams. But again, we've seen Stafford do it before, so that's why they are in that tier. The Cowboys are in the legit threats tier for me. To me, they are a team that has a legitimate chance to go on a run. I think that they are, you got to look at their defense. It's playing has played incredibly well. I still am a little bit worried about, could they be a Green Bay Packers-esque team, which is ironic because they played the Packers. But, the Packers had a couple year stretch where they were getting the 1 seed or the 2 seed. But then when it came to the playoffs, teams would kind of take away Devontae Adams and they wouldn't have a lot else there. Could we see that happening with Dallas? Because, again, for Green Bay, it didn't really matter in the regular season, but in the postseason, teams were able to do that. Could that happen with Dallas? It's possible, so that's probably my biggest concern, and the defense has looked human at times, but I don't know. Dak's an MVP candidate. Defense is still one of the best in the playoffs currently. They're legit threats. They are. Let me actually go a little bit out of order for the favorites, because I think I should probably have shown them at the beginning, but I think it's kind of obvious which 2 teams I'm putting in the favorites. It doesn't have to be just 2 teams in this tier, but in this case, it has to be. They feel like they are, in a tier of their own. Starting with Baltimore, we'll start with them. Again, they were dominant all season. They've kind of, they beat Miami in a massacre, really, and they beat San Francisco in what was, I think, the game itself was a massacre. I think if they play again, which they might come Super Bowl time, I think it would go differently. But I still think Baltimore would be favored in that game. Obviously, they have to be favorites. And again, San Francisco, for the longest time, we were talking about Philadelphia and Dallas being their two biggest contenders. They blew out both of them. Haven't played the Lions yet. But yeah, those two teams belong in the favorites tier. Let's go to Philadelphia. Yeah, I mean, I have to put them in at least they made the playoffs tier. I just do. This is where they belong, I think. I mean, their defense has been atrocious this past 2 months. I mean, at this point, it's just been it's a bad defense this season. Like, it is what it is. And I don't think Patricia should be calling plays. I think that I think that's a big issue. Now, it appears A.J. Brown is okay, but I doubt he's 100%. And if you're not without 100% A.J. Brown, this offense takes a massive step back. He was a ton to their offense. Even Jalen Hurts got banged up in this game. So how can you put them anywhere higher than this? Again, there's two, at least they made the playoffs teams that are playing each other. So one of them has to win at this point. And again, a playoff team is a playoff team. They're still, you're a good team if you make it to the playoffs. You are, unless, Tampa Bay last year, maybe not. But usually you're a good team if you make the playoffs. And this year, I think all 14 playoff teams are good teams. But, it's a rough situation right now for Philadelphia. The Green Bay Packers, I'm conflicted on them. I think I might bump them up to could win a playoff game. I think I feel okay about putting them in this category. They embody, their mindset has to embody that at least they made the playoffs, because that's truly how they feel. And playing Dallas, I doubt they're going to win, but I do think there's things to like about this team. All of a sudden, the defense has played well this past couple of weeks, and Jordan Love just played awesome. And if you have a quarterback playing awesome football, you could win a playoff game. Again, it would be nice, though, if they weren't the 7th seed. I think if they were playing Tampa Bay or Philadelphia, even though they got crushed by Tampa Bay earlier, I think they'd probably still be favored in either of those games. There's good stuff going on in Green Bay. The Houston Texans could win a game as well. I don't know if, again, the Tank Dell injury, I don't know if they're quite good enough to be in the if they get hot tier. Again, it is worth mentioning, young quarterbacks sometimes don't play great their first playoff game, so we'll see how that goes. Although there have been exceptions, but usually it takes you a minute in your first playoff game, not just the pressure, but teams throw different looks at you than they did in the regular season. Everyone's more locked in, so there's actual tangible reasons for it, not just the drama or whatever. But there's still a lot to really like about Houston, and they're closer to the if they get hot tier than at least they made the playoffs. The Bills to me are another legit threat. That's just how I think you have to view them. And they're such a frustrating team at times, right? They lost to Mac Jones at one point. There's so much frustration I have when I watch the Buffalo Bills. But at the same time, you can't deny Josh Allen's done just an unbelievable job with this team. They somehow get the 2 seed, and they've covered really well all season. So, I think Diggs is still a good player. You add on all those things, yeah, they are a legit threat in my opinion. Next up is the Cleveland Browns, with the Joe Flacco-led Cleveland Browns. I still don't know how much confidence I can really have in them, but I'm going to put them in the could win a game. And maybe you could argue me into if they get hot, because their defense is playing great. And hey, January Joe, all right? It's been a minute since we've seen Joe Flacco in January, but January Joe's a real thing. He has had a history of success in this month. I still think there's some issues offensively that, while it hasn't been a big issue this past month or so, I still am not confident enough to get them higher in A tier. But could they win a game? Absolutely. And 2, could win a game teams playing each other, Houston and Cleveland. So yeah, one of them will win a game. That's how that works. So you then have Detroit. Detroit they're a tough one. Do I put them in the legit threats or the if they get hot tier? I think I put them in the if they get hot tier. Sorry, Lions fans, but it's not to say that you can't. Again, if they get hot, to me, the way I view this means that I can envision a scenario where they win a Super Bowl. It's just I'm not betting on that scenario. The defense is just what holds me back, and their defense, it kind of is the definition of the if they get hot, because they stop the run well and they generate turnovers well. They just don't cover well. So if you can stop the run well and generate the turnovers, for 4 games, you're probably Super Bowl champions as long as Goff doesn't turn the ball over as well. You just have to hope that happens. And again, the odds are in one of those 4 weeks it won't happen, but could it happen? Yeah, it absolutely could happen. So if Lions fans think I'm a big hater of their team, I love the Lions. I've been rooting for the Lions all year long, but I gotta be honest about my opinions as well. So that's how I view that. And the Chiefs, I think the Chiefs are also a if they get hot team. I know people are ready to write off Kansas City. Listen, I lived through the Patriots dynasty and all of the people so ready constantly to say, Patriots are dead, Patriots are dead. And it's not fair to assume the Chiefs will also be the Patriots dynasty. It's not, obviously. But again, it does go to show you can't just write off one of these good teams just because they're going through a rough patch. When you have the best quarterback in football, which they still do, when you have an elite defense, which they do, and when you still have one of the best playmakers in football with Travis Kelce. All you need is a couple guys to step up. And Rashee Rice has started to step up these past couple of weeks. So if they can get something out of these other receiving core, yeah, I could see it. I can't put them higher. Just, again, similar to the Lions, I feel like there's one specific issue that we all know is an issue that everyone watching has seen be an issue all season with their receiving core. So I can't put them higher than that. But it's like if you can fix the one thing that's an issue, all of a sudden you're like legit threats, if not like favorites. Like that's how I feel about the Lions, and that's kind of how I feel about the the other 2 teams and if they get hot here. But yeah, for the 14 teams, those are where I have them. I have 2 favorites, 2 legit threats, and 1 in each conference for both of those. I then have the if they get hot tier, which again I have. Weirdly, I believe these 2 teams, all 4 of these teams, they play each other. The Dolphins play the Chiefs, and the Rams play the Lions, interestingly enough. And then a lot of teams play each other in certain tiers with the Texans and Browns, and could win a game, and the Buccaneers, Eagles, and at least they made the playoffs tier. So interesting stuff there. But yeah, those are my thoughts on all of this. What do you think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you, and of course, as always, thanks for watching.